What is up? Welcome to another edition of the SacTown Movie Buffs. Once again, I'm Kier, and this is Jason. And today we are back reviewing a new film that is playing in theaters called Spiral, which is basically a spinoff on the Saw series. So I say, without further ado, I say we get right into it. So I'll go ahead and bring that on in. So once again, Spiral is basically, like I said, a spinoff of the Saw series. If you don't know how the Saw series works, it's basically torture type films where they basically have somebody like chained up or something or tied up or something of that nature, and then they're kind of given an option to either sever off their fingers or cut off their hands in order to free themselves. Otherwise, if they don't, they'll end up dying or die some horrible death or something of that nature. So this is a spin-off which actually stars Chris Rock. And I guess from what I've been told, basically he was a big fan of the Saw series for some reason, and wanted to be in the franchise or in the movie somehow. So they created some sort of spin-off of it where he could be like the lead star. So he's basically a lead detective in like this police department where he's basically hated and thought of to be like a snitch because he essentially is basically told on like a dirty cop, and basically got him like kicked off the force, if you will. And that's kind of, or whatever case may be. And so all the other members kind of think he's a snitch or a rat or whatever case may be, because there's like a code with police officers that, you don't rat on your fellow officer. So that's basically the premise of that. Subsequent to that, he starts getting like these packages he has a new partner. For one, he gets a new partner to work with investigating this case of like somebody that basically an unidentified body that they find, where basically their tongue has been cut off, and they've been like basically hit by like a train in the subways, basically, which they find out actually was a cop from the precinct that he works at that he was supposedly good friends with. And then he starts getting like these packages that start leading to like some clues for him to go like find other body parts or other clues they're leading about basically this killer that's basically going after dirty cops on the police force kind of thing. Meanwhile, his father, who is also played by Samuel Jackson, is a retired chief of that same unit and police department, and he's also kind of wanting to help and assist with the case of, they think it's like a copycat Saw. I forget the Jigsaw killer. Yeah. So I think it's like a copycat Jigsaw killer that's going out, targeting cops. So he gets involved as well. And not to go too much into the story, because that's pretty much the gist of the story. Is basically, Chris Rock.
Saw movie.
Yeah, it's a Saw movie, but it's basically Chris Rock and his partner going to try to hunt down a killer, which they've actually have done in other Saw movies, specifically where there's like somebody looking for a Saw killer, basically. And it's the kind of film where, like I said, that it's always going to have some intricate, torture things where they have to do something, super gory or bloody in order to like free themselves. Otherwise, they're going to die. And then there's always some sort of twist or payoff at the end of who the actual killer is. And there's like, you start seeing clues that were leading up to it. Overall, I thought the film was okay. I didn't love it necessarily. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a huge fan of the Saw franchise to begin with. I think I liked maybe two of the films, maybe 2.5, something of that nature. But I feel like after I've seen enough of these films, like the twists are more predictable. And I think you would agree with this. I believe I kind of already knew who the killer was, halfway through the film. I kind of figured out who it was, or had a pretty good hunch of who the killer actually was. So that kind of makes for a little less suspenseful of a film. And we've had this discussion before as well about twists in films. Like, if the twist is really, really good, I'm going to want to go back and see the film again, because I want to see those little subtle nuances and things of that nature and how it came about. And if it's really good, the film itself should be interesting even without the twist. This film, I mean, it's okay. I mean, I wasn't like bored necessarily, but it wasn't like anything like, oh my God, this is an amazing, scary film. And when you already know or have basically figured out the twist midway through, it kind of makes for a less suspenseful ending. And there was there's a scene specifically where I already kind of figured out who the killer was just based on one scene, and or two scenes actually in my case. But you know, once I figured it out, it was kind of like, okay, well now I'm just kind of waiting to see if this is the guy that, or this is the person that, you know, is doing the killing basically. And so I don't know. So it kind of makes for a little anticlimactic ending when I already kind of have basically guessed who the killer is. And I don't know. I know it's a movie and you're not supposed to think about these kinds of things, but uh, I just have a hard time with, like, you know, I don't know how many Saw movies they've made and how many different Jigsaw killers have taken over the place of the original Jigsaw killer. You know what I mean? But it's just like, oh, all these people like have all these skills to like do all these intricate type, you know, suspensions where they have your like your fingers tight on something and you got to cut off your fingers, otherwise you're gonna die. And you know what I mean? Like, I mean, like, who's that creative? You know what I mean? Like, how many people are that creative in doing that? There's been at least 3 or 4 different people of this franchise that were able to do these intricate type, you know, death torture type things. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, what if they mess up? What if they somehow find a way to free themselves? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, this is one of those things where I kind of question like the validity of how intricate these torture devices they're installing could really be. And you know, Chris Rock is fine. Like I said, I don't have an issue with his acting per se. And I know he's been trying to take on, I guess, more serious roles versus comedic roles lately. Like he was in the last season of Fargo, and I don't know. I just his voice is so distinctive that I'm just like waiting for him to tell a joke, like almost anything that he does. You know what I mean? Like I don't know why it is. It's just something about his voice. It's just so comical sounding that I'm always just kind of like waiting for him to be funny. So I don't know. I'd say that I'm not saying he's typecast in that capacity, but I'm always kind of waiting for him to do something funny. And clearly, this was not a funny film at all. It's not meant to be. But I don't know. I thought it was just okay. I didn't think there was anything that special about it. I don't know what would separate this one from any of the other Saw franchise films. I don't even know why this one needed to be necessarily a spinoff of the Saw franchise films, because from my memory, they've had other killers that were part of the Saw series. They could have just made another Saw film, I guess. You know, I don't know. So that was just my take. But overall, I thought it was just okay. What do you think, Jason?
Well, first of all, Chris Rock, he does tell some jokes. I will say that. Like he does have a few like mini monologues in this movie, like in the very first scene actually. But anyway, yeah, I thought it was all right. It was all right. It was, you know, I'm no fan of the Saw series. I don't even like the first one. A lot of people will say like, well, the first one's okay, and then it went, you know, haywire. But I never even really liked the first Saw. But I haven't even seen them all, I don't think. But I did like Saw 3 and Saw. Yeah, I did like Saw 3 and Saw 6. I do remember that, funny enough, but it's not a series I'm really interested in. So, yeah, this movie was both kind of better and worse than I thought it would be in a weird way. I mean, it was better in the sense that I do think it's more well made than most of the movies in the official series. You know, like the cinematography is pretty good. It looks good. It's well paced. But also, I think the fact that, like you, when I heard this story about, like, you know, Chris Rock, who's super talented, I love Chris Rock, who was like obsessed with the Saw series and wanted to, you know, and I guess when I heard his involvement, and it led me to think that it was going to be kind of like a real different direction. You know what I mean? So it kind of maybe set my expectations were kind of low because it's a Saw movie, and kind of high because I thought it was going to be like this interesting reinvention of the Saw series.
But it was,
and it wasn't really
Saw movie. Yeah.
It was another Saw movie with a little bit of a different flavor, you know, a little bit of a Chris Rock comedy edge to it, a little bit of like gritty atmosphere and good cinematography. And I did like that. I mean, there are some interesting ideas there. It is a movie about police corruption, and taking the police to task about corruption. But I mean, there was some stuff like that in the original series too. I mean, Saw 6 is about the healthcare crisis. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not completely unprecedented that they brought real world issues into a Saw movie, but it's still a dumb Saw movie in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? It's still, like you said, like I'm usually pretty gullible when it comes to twists, and I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that because I'm usually like surprised when other people aren't. You know, and I like being surprised. I like being taken by surprise when other people are, oh, I guess that, you know, halfway through or whatever. But this movie, I knew like immediately like who the killer was. Like, you know, I'm not gonna say, but pretty soon after this character was introduced, I mean, maybe their second scene, I was like, oh, that's the killer, and I was right. You know, and you know, for someone who's gullible like me to be able to guess that right away, that's probably not a good thing. You know what I mean? It's probably happening to a lot of people. But you know that doesn't ruin the movie for me. I mean, it does have some effective sequences. It does have a little bit of a different atmosphere than the other ones, but it's still at the end of the day, it's another dumb Saw movie for the most part. So
Yeah.
it was okay, not great, not bad. I didn't regret seeing it. You know, I think I'm just happy to be back in the theaters. You know, I wasn't bored. It's a quick 90 minutes. It's fairly entertaining. You know, I wasn't like in misery or anything, but
No.
yeah. So yeah,
I wasn't bored or anything like that, but it was, you know, like I said, it was kind of predictable, and like you said, I kind of anticipated it was going to be a new spin on the Saw series. If you're going to call it Spiral and make it like this new thing, but like you said, they've had corrupt cops and corruption and things of that nature. I think they even had a dirty cop in one of the ones, I believe. One of the previous ones, he was like a dirty cop, or maybe he was the killer or the cop or something. I don't remember. There was like something else that was about. There was another one that had a kind of a similar tone to it. So,
yeah,
so it wasn't like it was even original in that sense. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And then I don't know. Like I said, to me it was kind of just I saw it. And I'm probably not going to revisit it, and it didn't really do anything to where it's going to stick out of my mind. Other than it had Chris Rock and Samuel Jackson, and I'm not going to remember anything else really about that film. You know what I mean? It was just like they rolled all their, because if it wasn't Chris Rock starring it, if it was just some guy, you know what I mean, and you know what I mean, like we wouldn't even. It would have probably just been called Saw, 8 or whatever. So you know what I mean, or whatever it
Or
is.
9. I don't even know.
I don't know.
At
I
this
don't know how
point.
many it is. I don't know. I'm just saying it's probably what you could have just called it Saw 8 or 9 or whatever, however many of the films are, and I would have been okay with that. If you're going to call it Spiral, and it's supposed to be some spinoff, I'm really kind of anticipating it's going to have some new edge to it. You know, I expected it was going to have the torture part of it, but
Well, yeah.
I don't know. I didn't even feel like the torture part of it was that elevated. I've seen other ones where like they've done things with like people's tongue being in something or people's hands. There's even like a scene where someone gets handcuffed to like a thing and there's like a saw there. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's like one of those things where it's like, you know, you didn't do anything special. You know what I mean? You didn't bring anything new to the game, I felt like, really. I mean, like I said, you can argue the police corruption aspect of it, but that's just kind of a big thing in the social climate right now. I'm watching a series, The Godfather of Harlem, and they're dealing with, you know, police corruption. It's just a thing that's popular right now. You know what I mean? So it's not like it's singular to like, oh wow, they're finally talking about that police corruption kind of thing. You know what I mean? And there's been other movies that have had that. You know what I mean? So there's always been police corruption, and there's always been movies where they've dealt with police corruption. So that's nothing new. You know?
No.
So. You know,
unfortunately,
or to get revenge on police officers that are dirty. You know what I mean? That's nothing new. You know, so
yeah. Unfortunately,
I mean, heck, Maniac Cop back in the '80s was kind of, you know, that same thing. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
I need to watch that again. I haven't seen that since I was a kid. I loved that movie when I was a kid, though.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the same thing. You know what I mean? There was police corruption in that, and you know, so you know what I mean. So it's not like it's anything new. And that was a horror movie, you know, where they seek to get revenge, you know, on all these corrupt cops. You know, so like I said, it just didn't offer anything new or exciting for me to say it was a good movie or a movie that I would revisit for whatever reason. I don't see myself rewatching it personally. So
I never thought I'd see Samuel L. Jackson in a Saw movie, though. Yeah, and he's good. He doesn't phone it in. You know, he doesn't phone it in. He's good in it. You know.
No, he doesn't phone it in. I mean, he's you know, and you know, Samuel Jackson. I feel like he's gonna be in everything. You know what I'm saying? So you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
You know, he's a Jedi Knight. He's an Avenger. You know what I mean? I'm surprised he's not in DC also. You know what I mean? Like he's just one of those
on a plane with some snakes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He's going to do everything. I feel like he's going to be part of every franchise at this point. And I'm not saying he just, you know, I mean, he makes a lot of great films, but he also makes a lot of films. You know what I mean? So he's in probably like 20 films a year. Yeah, I was watching But yeah, the trailer before the movie was like, the hitman bodyguard's wife, and he's in that. And I think there was another trailer where he might have been in it too. I don't remember, but I was just like, yeah, this guy's just like in everything. So
yeah, he was like headed somewhat toward like Nicolas Cage territory for a little while there, but I think he pulled back around like Snakes on a Plane time. He was like getting into Nicolas Cage territory a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think the Avengers movie kind of brought him back into that fold or whatever.
Top ranks, yeah.
So, but yeah, but like I said, he's he'll work with anybody. You know what I mean? So, but like I said, overall I enjoyed it. I thought it was I say overall enjoyed it. Overall, I thought it was okay.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Overall, I thought it was okay. I can't say I enjoyed it. Overall, I thought it was okay. So
yeah.
Anything else you want to add about Spiral?
Nope.
All right, let's get into those reviews. Overall grade and face you would give this one.
I gave it a 3 out of 5. Which is about the B- C+ range for me. I know a 3 out of 5 is lower than you give a 3 out of 5. It means you can pretty much stand behind it. Me giving it a 3 out of 5 means it's just a hair above average, but it has more good qualities than bad, but just barely. That's what it means for me.
But like B- C+. So
yeah,
I mean, it's still kind of I don't know.
Yeah, like I enjoyed it. I enjoyed sitting there watching a horror movie in the theater. It was pretty dumb and a little smart, and it was well made, but also still kind of silly, and good actors, and I don't know. It was enough different things happening that I was engaged, even though I knew like from like 20 minutes in basically how it was going to end. It was all right.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
So B- C+, which is a that's how I left. I was like, yeah, that was all right.
Cool.
I would see a follow-up if they do one, which they probably will, because it was #1 at the box office. So
yeah, I'm sure they'll make another one, of course. So
yeah.
I went a little bit lower. I went with a 2.5 out of 5, so a little bit lower than you. Although we probably feel about the same, maybe.
Sounds like it, yeah.
So I went a 2.5. Like I said, it had some value to it. I couldn't say it was a good film. I would probably see another one if it looked good. You know what I mean? So, who's to say? I mean, right now we're just kind of seeing stuff to see stuff because we're excited to be able to go to the theaters and see things. So, you see a lot anyways, but I tend to be a little bit more selective in what I see. As far as when it comes to theaters, just because I also don't have the time, with 3 kids and everything else going on, I just get busy. But yeah, I mean, I don't see everything. So, but I think that once I start going more regularly to theaters, I'm going to be more selective in what I see. Would I have seen this in the theater a year from now, or maybe 2 years ago in 2019? I don't know. I might have waited for video on it. I don't know. So. But overall, like I said, not terrible. I'm just going to give it 2.5 and kind of give it kind of a slight smile, so like I said, it doesn't do anything inherently, offensive to me or anything just terrible or anything like that. And like I said, but if I already guessed the twist, which I do a lot of times in films, but if I already guessed the twist, many times it kind of makes it not quite as entertaining as I hope it's going to be, or I feel like it's lazy because I was able to figure out the twists too quickly. So, but this one was really lazy with their twist.
It was bad. It was bad.
Yeah, I think if there's anything that we can say about this one, I think we can agree that the twist was very lazy. They did a poor job of telegraphing it. There's even I think I know which scene you're talking about that they didn't even need to put in there. Yeah.
But it just highlighted.
Yeah.
Oh, this is some really like shoddy misdirection or an attempt at misdirection that's not working at all.
Yeah. There's one scene in particular where they just make it completely obvious to me anyways. Like I'm like, okay, I already know what's happening here. So
yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, let us know down in the comments. Have you seen Spiral? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Are we completely off? Was the twist amazing? I doubt anybody saying that. But let us know down in the comments your thoughts, your take. takes. Obviously, if you like the channel, we ask that you like, subscribe, make sure you hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of our updates, and we'll be back with another show for you guys again real soon. We thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. Bye.